When you turn 60, something startling becomes clear, the loudest promises fade, the room gets quieter, and the one voice you cannot afford to lose is your own. Let me say this gently, but honestly, aging doesn't break you. It strips away illusions. It shows you who stays, who drifts, and who only loved the version of you that was useful. And in that reckoning, the most reliable support is not applause, not bloodlines, not obligation. It is self-trust. Self-trust is the quiet courage to believe your own, knowing after decades of being told to doubt it. It's the strength to say, I've lived long enough to recognize truth in my bones. When others second-guess your choices, minimize your needs, or rewrite your story, self-trust becomes your anchor. At 60, you stop outsourcing your worth. You stop begging for permission to rest, to say no, to change your mind, to protect your peace. You've earned the right to listen inward instead of constantly scanning outward for approval. Self-trust is built from scars, not perfection. Every heartbreak you survived, every boundary you learned too late, every time you stood back up when no one clapped, that is evidence. That is wisdom. And here's the hard truth most people won't say out loud: family can love you and still fail you. But self-trust never abandons you. It stays when plans collapse. It steadies you when relationships thin. It whispers, you know what to do. This pillar isn't loud, it doesn't perform, it holds. And once you have it, you are no longer afraid of standing alone because you are standing with yourself. By the time you reach 60, you learn something that once felt almost forbidden to admit. Familiarity does not equal safety. Just because someone has known you for decades doesn't mean they know how to hold you with care. Emotional safety is the feeling of being able to breathe in someone's presence. It's not walking on eggshells. It's not shrinking your truth to keep the peace. It's not explaining your pain only to have it dismissed, joked about, or rushed past. Emotional safety is being seen without being corrected. At this stage of life, your nervous system becomes wiser than your excuses. It recognizes who drains you and who steadies you, who listens to understand and who listens only to respond. And when your body tightens around certain people, that's not disloyalty, that's data. Here's the quiet revolution. You stop confusing endurance with love. You no longer say, this is just how they are, when how they are costs you your dignity. You begin choosing presence over obligation, calm over chaos, honesty over harmony. Emotional safety may come from unexpected places. A friend who arrived late in life but shows up fully. A neighbor who listens without fixing. A community where your age is not something to be apologized for, but honored. These relationships don't demand history, they offer respect. And yes, sometimes family can provide this, but sometimes they can't. And protecting your emotional safety is not betrayal, it's self-respect. At 60, you stop asking, who should be here? You start asking, who makes me feel like myself? That question becomes a compass. And when you follow it, your life gets quieter, but it also gets truer. In the next section, I'll share the third pillar and why purpose matters more now than it ever did before. There's a dangerous lie we tell people as they age: your most meaningful contributions are behind you. But purpose does not retire, it transforms. At 60, purpose stops being about proving and starts being about meaning. You no longer ask, how do I impress? You ask, how do I matter? Honestly, quietly, deeply, and that shift changes everything. Purpose at this stage is not measured by productivity or titles. It's measured by alignment, by whether your days feel coherent with your values, by whether what you give costs you less of yourself and gives you more of your life back. You begin to understand that being useful is not the same as being fulfilled. You may step away from roles that once defined you, not because you failed, but because you grew. And grief often comes with that. We don't talk enough about the grief of outgrowing identities that once kept us alive. But purpose at 60 is gentler and braver at the same time. It shows up in mentoring without control, in creating without needing recognition, in service that doesn't erase you, in saying, this is what I care about now, even when no one claps. Purpose can be tending a garden, telling the truth, passing on wisdom, Advocating for something you were once too afraid to name, it can be as small as being a steady presence or as bold as starting over. When purpose evolves, it becomes a source of support. It gives your mornings shape. It gives your pain context. It reminds you that you are not done. You are discerning. And here's the gift. When your purpose is rooted in values instead of validation, no one can take it away. After 60, your body stops negotiating. It tells the truth clearly, sometimes loudly, sometimes with a whisper you can no longer ignore. And this isn't betrayal, it's communication. For decades, many of us learned to override our bodies, push through exhaustion, dismiss pain, earn rest instead of receiving it. But aging dismantles that bargain. The body becomes an ally only when you stop treating it like an inconvenience. This pillar is about reverence, not control. It's about listening instead of forcing. Your body tells you which relationships exhaust you, which environments overwhelm you, which rhythms restore you. Tight shoulders, shallow breath, constant fatigue, these are not failures. They are signals at this stage of life. Respecting your body is an act of courage. It means slowing down in a culture addicted to speed. It means choosing nourishment over punishment. It means saying no without apology because your energy is no longer renewable. It is precious. There is also grief here. Grief for the body you once had. Grief for what comes more slowly now, and denying that grief only hardens it. Honoring it softens you. It makes room for gratitude for the fact that this body carried you through love, loss, labor, and survival. When you begin to trust your body, you stop needing external permission. You rest when you're tired. You leave when something feels wrong. You stay when something feels safe. And something profound happens. Your body becomes a boundary, a guide, a home. Family may misunderstand this shift. Society may resist it. But your body will never lie to you. By 60, you've lived long enough to know this truth connection is not about proximity. It's about presence. Shared blood does not guarantee shared care, and shared history does not guarantee shared respect. Chosen community is built on consent, not guilt. It's made of people who see you as you are now, not who you used to be, not who they need you to remain. These are the people who don't rush your stories, don't compete with your pain, don't disappear when life gets quiet or inconvenient. At this stage of life, you stop chasing belonging and start recognizing it. Belonging feels like ease, like being able to show up without performing strength. Like laughter that doesn't cost you your dignity, like silence that isn't awkward but comforting. Chosen community may be small, and that's not a failure. Depth replaces volume. You no longer need to be surrounded by many, you need to be held by a few. People who check in without being asked, who celebrate your boundaries, who don't punish you for evolving. There is bravery in choosing people who choose you back, especially if you were raised to believe loyalty means endurance. Especially if you were taught that leaving emotional harm is the same as abandoning love. It's not. Community after 60 is about mutuality, about being needed without being used, about giving and receiving without keeping score. And here's the quiet miracle. When you surround yourself with emotionally mature people, your nervous system rests. Your laughter comes easier. Your loneliness loosens its grip. Family can be part of this community, but they don't get automatic access. Connection is earned through care. By the time you reach 60, loss is no longer theoretical. It has a name, a face, a date. You've lost people, roles, versions of yourself, and futures you once assumed were guaranteed. And the question is no longer, how do I avoid pain, but how do I live with it without becoming hard and meaning? Making is not about pretending everything happens for a reason. It's about refusing to let pain be the end of the story. It's the practice of saying, this hurt changed me, but it did not erase me. At this stage of life, resilience doesn't come from bouncing back. It comes from integrating, from allowing grief to sit at the table without letting it run the house, from telling the truth about what was lost while staying open to what still remains. Meaning, making might look like turning pain into language, sharing your story so someone else feels less alone. It might look like honoring what ended instead of rushing to replace it. or choosing tenderness in a world that keeps demanding toughness. This pillar becomes support because it gives suffering context. It helps you hold complexity, love and disappointment, gratitude and sorrow, strength and exhaustion all at once. And that complexity is not confusion. It's maturity. When you make meaning, you stop asking, why did this happen to me? You begin asking, who am I becoming because I survived it? That question doesn't erase grief. But it gives it shape. It allows pain to deepen you instead of closing you off. And here's the truth. Most people miss people who can make meaning, are never empty. Even in loss, they are connected to purpose, to compassion, to life. After 60, the cost of self-deception becomes too high. You no longer have the time or the energy to pretend. This is the stage of life where radical honesty stops being scary and starts being freeing. Radical honesty is not cruelty. It's clarity. It's the courage to admit what drains you, what no longer fits, and what you stayed in far longer than you should have. It's saying, this hurts, without immediately minimizing it. It's acknowledging, I'm tired, without wrapping it in gratitude so others feel comfortable. For many years, you may have told yourself stories to survive. It's not that bad. They didn't mean it. I can handle this. Those stories once protected you. But now they imprison you. And aging gives you permission to stop negotiating with your own truth. Radical honesty means you stop romanticizing relationships that require you to disappear. You stop calling anxiety normal. You stop confusing obligation with love. And you stop abandoning yourself to maintain an image of being easy, strong, or grateful. This pillar becomes support because when you are honest with yourself, your decisions get cleaner. You say no faster. You leave earlier. You choose differently. And with that comes peace. Not the loud kind, but the steady kind that settles into your bones. There is grief in this honesty. Grief for the years you didn't speak, for the boundaries you learned too late. Let that grief come. It is not regret. It is awakening. When you tell yourself the truth, you build trust with yourself, and that trust becomes unbreakable. After 60, vulnerability stops being a gamble and starts being a choice. You are no longer trying to earn connection by appearing invulnerable. You are choosing connection by being real. For much of life, vulnerability felt dangerous. You learned to armor up, to stay composed, to keep moving even when your heart was heavy. But aging has a way of cracking that armor, not to weaken you, but to let light in. Vulnerability now looks like asking for help without apology, saying, I don't have the energy today. Admitting loneliness without shame, letting people see your tenderness instead of hiding it behind humor or competence. This pillar becomes support because it invites true connection, not the kind built on performance, but the kind built on presence. When you allow yourself to be seen as you are, you give others permission to do the same, and that mutual openness creates bonds that are honest and sustaining. There is courage in letting go of the myth that you must be strong all the time. Strength at this stage is knowing when to rest, when to reach, when to receive. It's trusting that your worth does not diminish when you need support. Vulnerability also sharpens discernment. You don't share with everyone. You share with the safe, with those who listen without fixing, who don't rush your healing, who respect your boundaries, and something beautiful happens when you embrace vulnerability after 60K. You stop feeling alone even when life is hard because you are no longer hiding from it. This is not weakness. This is wisdom earned. After 60, letting go is no longer a loss. It's a skill, a deeply practiced, hard-earned act of wisdom. You begin to understand that holding on to everything is not strength. Sometimes it's fear wearing a familiar face. Letting go doesn't mean you didn't care. It means you cared enough to stop bleeding. You release expectations that others will suddenly become who they've shown you they cannot be. You release roles that once gave you identity but now drain your spirit. You release the fantasy that endurance alone equals virtue. This pillar becomes support because it lightens your load. Emotional baggage is heavy, and you've been carrying it for decades. Old resentments, unspoken grief, conversations you rehearsed but never had. Letting go doesn't erase the past. It loosens its grip on your present. There is tenderness required here. Letting go is not cutting off feeling. It's cutting off suffering that no longer teaches you anything. It's saying, I forgive you enough to free myself. Sometimes the person you're releasing is a version of yourself who did the best they could with what they knew. At this stage of life, you begin choosing peace over being right, space over struggle, acceptance over resistance. And in that choice, your nervous system begins to rest. Letting go creates room for laughter, for curiosity, for moments that surprise you. You realize you don't need closure from others to move forward. You can close the door yourself. At 60 and beyond, you begin to realize that the most enduring support isn't what you receive, it's what you cultivate within and around you. It's your presence, your clarity, your courage to live fully, even as the world around you shifts. This is the 10th pillar, the legacy of presence. Presence is not about being seen or celebrated. It's about being fully here, fully awake, fully honest with yourself and with others who matter. It's about showing up with authenticity, compassion, and grounded strength, even when life is unpredictable. When you carry presence, you stop depending on others to hold you steady because you've learned how to hold yourself steady. This pillar binds all the others together. Self-trust, emotional safety, purpose, your body, chosen community, meaning-making, honesty, vulnerability, letting go, they all converge in presence. Presence is the quiet backbone that says, I am enough, and I will navigate the rest with courage. Legacy of presence also reframes your relationships. You stop asking for attention and start offering understanding. You stop seeking validation and start offering care. You stop waiting for love to be given and begin creating a life that nurtures connection, meaning, and joy. People remember presence, not possessions, not advice, not achievements, but the way you made them feel seen, safe, and alive. And here's the truth: you must carry family, friends, fortune. They all fluctuate, but your capacity to show up fully does not. It is yours. It is unshakable. And when you lean on this pillar, you realize that the richest support after 60 comes not from circumstance, but from the strength, wisdom, and love you have cultivated within yourself. So step into it. Trust yourself, choose wisely, listen to your body, protect your peace, love boldly, let go, be vulnerable, and above all, be present. Because presence is the foundation that carries you through every season, every loss, every joy, and every moment yet to come.